I think we all know how angry I am still about the trade and how everything went down. But I mean, what we're looking at with Anthony Eyanson, I mean, the potential's right there. I mean, he's got all the potential. He's got the stuff in the makeup to be a top of the rotation starter, and we'll keep getting into it. But I mean, you look at this Orioles, top four prospects. You got three top 100 pitchers right now.
When was the last
None of
time they've had that?
I can't even remember. But I mean, and it's never a guarantee in these world that any of these guys pan out. But I will say for a team that needs pitching in a dire amount, it's nice to see, my favorite prospect in this system, Joseph Dzierwa. Caden Hunter made a huge jump, and I'm going to let you take the floor on that and get into it. But it's a lot to be excited for. I'll say that.
Yeah, and as you should be, Joseph Dzierwa, second-round pick out of Michigan State this in the 2025 MLB draft. He slots in at 90, excuse me, on the top 100. And Dzierwa has been everything Orioles fans could have dreamed for and more this season. In 2026, he has a 2.01 ERA and 112 innings in the minors between High A Frederick and Double A. And he's already pitched 71 and 1/3 innings at Chesapeake Double A. And he's got an ERA below 2 with only 17 walks, 82 strikeouts, a whip below 0.9. This guy is special. And this wasn't, I saw an interesting tweet. I forgot who it was by earlier, but it was I forget what it was. Oh, it was Dzierwa is following the same path as like Trey Gibson, where they just shot up the minor leagues. Gibson only pitched, I think, like 50 innings at Double A before going to Triple A last season, and Dzierwa's already eclipsed that. So I think you could see a Dzierwa promotion very, very soon, especially, with Kyson Witherspoon down in Frederick and a few other really talented pitchers. JT Quinn just got promoted the other day. So I think, they got to call up one of these guys down in Chesapeake, and I think Dzierwa is the clear option. Super, super fun player, 55 grade fastball, 45 grade slider, 60 grade changeup, though, is where he makes his money. When you throw a fastball in the mid 90s and you have a changeup that just drives down.
Falls off the bone, yeah.
Yeah, especially as a 6'8" lefty, and with a really tricky arm slot, I think Dzierwa is the best pitcher in this Orioles farm system, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like you said, Tyler, he's got 71 and a third innings in Double A at this point. He's going to keep going. It wouldn't shock me if in the next week or so, even if it's 2 starts, maybe 3 starts in Triple A, the Orioles just give him, a little taste and a little sliver of it. I think you're going to see him play a big part in spring training next year. I obviously don't think he makes the team, but I think you're going to see him eat a lot of innings, see a lot of major league talent, and the Orioles are going to want to get him up early. I could see Dzierwa coming up in June or July next year if he continues to pitch the way he is or around the way he is. I hope that doesn't kind of make the Orioles not spend this offseason on pitching where they need to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're in a really good position. We talk about Eyanson. Eyanson's played what? He's been AAA now for 53 innings. I don't think that he goes or Double A. I apologize. He's been a Double A for 53 innings at this point. I don't know that he's gonna get called up to AAA this year. I don't think both go up, but I do think that you could see Eyanson being ready in August or September next year, getting a good 4 or 5 months to start the year in AAA. You gotta love where we are with that. Obviously you gotta. I makes my blood boil. The major league teams playing so shitty, but I mean we are where we're supposed to be. And they just called up Caden Hunter to Double A. He's got 16 innings, so obviously you're going to see him start the year there next year. And hopefully maybe we'll see Dzierwa in June, and that's right around when they call Caden Hunter up to Triple A, and the cycle kind of continues. I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, and quick note: the D in his last name is silent, so it's Dzierwa, not Dzierwa.
Dzierwa.
There you go, Dzierwa. It sounds like a name in like Harry Potter, like Lord Dzierwa. Is that just me?
Might be just you. I was thinking more Mr. Miyagi, Karate Kid, but
okay, yeah. Sensei Dzierwa. Yeah. I like
Dzierwa.
That. Clay, take it away with the final guy in the Orioles top 100.
Final guy in the Orioles top 100, Caden Hunter. I mean, this is the guy, Tyler. He wasn't that high on the Orioles top 30. I want to say he was right around 15 at the start of this year.
He was outside the Orioles top 30 coming into the year.
and then he moved into it, I want to say probably around May or June after he started really hot. There's not a lot that I can't say about this guy. I mean, he's pitched so successfully at every level this year. You know, he had 5 starts in single A Delmarva this year, had a 1.17 ERA, had a 1.6 ERA and 9 starts in Frederick this year, and 3 starts in Double A Bowie or Chesapeake. He's got a 4.5, but that's obviously kind of inflated because he's only pitched in 3 games. So, you know, when you talk about a fast riser, you talk about a guy that's catching eyes very, very quickly. Caden Hunter's that guy. And like you said, Tyler, I mean, he's 22 years old. He could be a fast riser. I mean, even more than he is right now. He's going to be 23 at the end of this season. You know, he's a guy that you could see next year. I think I'm interested to hear what you have to say, but a 6th round pick last year that's grown like this. I mean, it was about time the Orioles hit on a pitching prospect, and it seems like they got a really good shot at hitting at least 2 of these.
Yeah, Hunter has looked fantastic. I mean, you talk about a power pitcher as a southpaw, and that's Caden Hunter. Looks like Garrett Crochet, Tarek Skubal. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to turn into that, but like the profile plays like that, high 90s fastball. The control definitely needs some work. He throws around the plate, but he's not a strike thrower yet. I think once he becomes a strike thrower,
it's going to be scary.
Yeah, and he already is scary. But once he becomes a higher command guy, it will get extremely scary. And I think the secondary pitches are another big concern. I like his changeup more than I like his slider. He also has a really, really slow curveball in there too, which is interesting because when you throw 95 to 98 miles per hour, if you have a curveball below 80 miles per hour, it fools guys. And the Orioles, they've really tried to, like groom some of these left-handed pitching prospects. A guy like Cade Povich never really worked out. At least it's looking like he's not going to work out. But he never had the velocity that, Dzierwa and Hunter had. And I think that's where these guys separate themselves from southpaws that the Orioles have tried to develop in the past. The fastball just has life. And you look at a guy in Cade Povich, doesn't really throw a fastball, kind of only has a sinker, and it's 93 miles per hour and below, sometimes even 90, 91. With these guys, it's like their fastball has a lot of rise, a lot of really, really fun action, interesting arm slots. I mean, Dzierwa's 6'8", Hunter's only 6'2", but like Hunter has I think 60 grade fastball. And his velocity from his time at USC this past year to now has only gone up, I think, like 2 miles per hour. You have to wonder if he can get to that 99, 100 mark where he really can look like, a Skubal or a Crochet. I'm not saying he's going to be. I don't want to put the expectations on this guy. But, like, the makeup just screams top of the rotation arm if, like I said, he can find that strikeout pitch, that secondary pitch, and if he can start throwing more strikes in the zone, you're looking at a top of the rotation arm. If he can find that tertiary pitch too, like if he can really dive into that slider or curveball and really become like a strong third pitch, this guy's going to be lights out, and the Orioles are going to have him until he's 30, 31 years old. And he is going to be the staple of this Orioles rotation going forward with Dzierwa, with Eyanson, with Bradish, and with Boz. And I think this rotation is in a really, really good spot going forward. But now, Clay, you have to see these 3 pitching prospects put it together when they get called up to the major leagues. And that's the biggest, concern. Can they do it? But I will say confidently, I'm more confident in this pitching group of prospects that we've had in my whole entire lifetime to get it done. I think... 100%. And I think even if 2 of these guys flop, you're still going to get an elite pitcher out of one of them. And while that would suck to see a guy like Eyanson and Dzierwa both struggle, or Dzierwa and Hunter both struggle, like you're cool with having one guy come out of this bunch that's really, really good, and 2 of these guys just being like a Dean Kramer for you for the next 5 years. And while that would underperform expectations a little bit, like if one of these guys can become, your future ace, like you're going to be in good company with your rotation going forward.
And, it's something that I got taught at a young age, Tyler. And I think when it comes to guys like Caden Hunter, his control isn't there right now. And, obviously you want guys to push the strike zone and be throwing a ton of strikes. But I think a guy like Caden Hunter, if he can just learn to be effectively wild, and
you can get away with it.
Yeah, and when I say effectively wild, a lot of people are going to think, well, I wouldn't want him being wild at all. But, when you have a guy that can push 96, 97 and has movement on his pitches, you can be okay with him, building up a kind of a higher pitch count just because he can control it. He knows where it's going, and he can, you could scare a guy if all of a sudden he's got a 1-2 count. He can come inside with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball and scare the shit out of someone. And then he's going to drop a changeup on the bottom outside of the zone the next pitch, and the guy's not going to swing because he's scared shitless from the last pitch. Right. Being effectively wild is it's better than being controllable. I mean, it's, you get some wild horse out there. That's the kind of guy you need.
Yeah, but I mean, with that being said, Clay, I'm sure you would rather have him become a control freak in the zone rather than effectively wild. Right,
if effectively wild gives you 7 innings and 2 runs.
Sure, yeah, of course. That. But
but here's the thing. Yeah, it's better to have control, Tyler, but not everybody can be Greg Maddux. At the end of the day,
yeah, of course.
You're going to need guys that sometimes you got to throw a ball. Sometimes the best pitch to throw is a ball.
I agree.
As crazy as that sounds, having a guy that's going to keep punishing the zone, at some point, he's going to make a mistake pitch because he's too scared to throw it outside the zone. I mean,
sure.
You need a good mix.
And this is the final thing I say, and then we'll talk about the updated Orioles list. But when I look at control as a pitcher, I'm not looking for a guy that throws 92% strikes or 80% strikes or even 70% strikes for that matter. I'm looking for a guy, though, that will, in his 6-inning start, give you 75% first pitch strikes, get ahead of the count. And then that's when guys like Dzierwa, Eyanson, Hunter, with their swing and miss upside, that's when they're going to eat. Just get ahead in the count with their lively fastball, paint it inside, make it hard for them to, get back in that count. Just if you get up with these 3 pitchers, if you're up in the count 1-2 or 0-1, they're done. And I can say that with confidence because they have such good raw stuff. And like I said earlier, this is the most excited I have been for a trio of pitching prospects to come out this Orioles farm ever.